Well, welcome everybody this evening tonight. Wanted to say thank you so much for joining us this evening and giving y'all the opportunity to meet Josh Clark. It's an individual in my life that I've had the pleasure of doing life with for the last 5 years. And just his energy and his passion and his experience is something that's really got my wife and I and my family really heavily involved in doing life with Josh. And just excited about being on this journey with him now as he takes on the challenge of going after the race for the U.S. Senate for the state of Georgia, and really pours his heart and his passion into the fight for the values that we all hold so dear and true, and trying to get our state back to a good direction. And I just wanted to thank you all for coming tonight, and wanted to take the opportunity, just be so blessed to be able to introduce Josh and let him take it from here and get you all a chance to meet him and know what he's all about. So thank you all for coming along for the ride, and looking forward to a good evening with you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. And man, doesn't that ever get you fired up? Proud to be an American. Sure. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out to join us today on a Sunday afternoon. You may have heard that there was a celebrity running in this race. And if you showed up on this Zoom to meet one, I am not. I can't run the 40-yard dash in 4 seconds. I didn't win a Heisman Trophy. But I am a patriot just like all of you. And I know you are, because you're spending your valuable time today when you could be doing anything else in your day off, but instead you care about our country and you want to find out who's running for this U.S. Senate seat. So over the next few minutes, I'd like to share with you a little bit of who I am, why I'm running, what are the issues, why do I believe that I can win this thing? And why do I believe with all humility that I am the best person to step up and serve our country, our state in this time of crisis? Also, you're going to get to meet my better three quarters. And so I'm excited about that. In fact, today is her birthday. And yes, I did run this by her. And I said, should we do this or should we put it off? She said, no, we've got to do it. And you'll understand why she was emphatic that, yes, we do this here in just a little bit when you meet her. So, all right, so who am I? I grew up in Suwanee, Georgia, born and raised in Georgia, grew up on a small farm that we rented. I grew up as the oldest of 10 children. I like to say that we were an average family, a dog and a cat, and a few siblings, but probably you all say 10 is not average. But there's a lot of benefits to growing up in a big family. Never a dull moment. We all learned to pitch in and serve. I like to say that we grew up the poor talked about. My father was a pastor. And if you know anything about ministry in a very, very small church, you understand what I mean. But we were rich in love and rich in a lot of things, just not resources. But that was great, because really it molded, it's helped me become who I am, right? We all look back on the challenges and we see that by embracing them, they actually strengthen us. But not only did we have challenges with resources and all, my mother also has one kidney, no spleen, lost an adrenal gland, so missing several organs from a sledding accident. And so she shouldn't have had really one child, although we're all glad we're here, let alone 10 children. I like to say that they had me and they decided to have more. But my sister says they had me and they said, surely we can do better than this. And that's probably more accurate. Although I tell her, I say, you're number 3, so that doesn't help you either. But anyhow, we all have a lot of fun bantering back and forth on that. But anyhow, thank God we're all here. But my mom really sacrificed greatly to do that. And in the midst of that, she lost her health. And she went from being this, person that really shaped a lot of what you're going to hear tonight, both her and my father, but just raising us to love God with all of our heart, our mind, our soul, and strength, and go, and to ask how can we use our gifts, talents, and abilities to make a difference. And she was that person who always wanted to be making an impact, doing things, and then she found herself sick for years, where she could do very little. So I got to step in and help raise the children. And you might say, why do you share that? What does that have to do with anything? Well, quite honestly, that's where I learned to serve. That's where I learned life was not all about me. And my childhood was very different as a result of that. But there again, I want to change the thing. Sports were a privilege that I didn't get to play. Loved sports. 7 of us boys. We all love sports, but that was one of those privileges. We needed to contribute, work. And but that's where that in giving my life to Christ at an early age, and my mother, as I said, shared earlier, constantly challenging us. How can you use your gifts, talents, and abilities to make a difference? Where I came out of high school knowing that my life's purpose was to serve, to try to make an impact. I was homeschooled, so I had a great Christian education. I also was blessed with a great curriculum. I loved history and learning about our founding fathers. So right out of high school, my brother and I got involved. In fact, us three oldest, and then we ended up getting all the younger ones involved as well. We got involved in campaigns. We got involved because I believe that when the righteous serve, or because of the translation you look at, when they serve, the people rejoice. And that, we need to be actively involved. And again, thank you for being here today, actively involved and know who's running and who's serving, and encourage and challenge people to step up, or else we have no business complaining when things become a mess. And so that's what I did. Jumped right in, got involved, and I really served in probably just about every, worn off a lot of shoe leather, knocking on doors through my 20s. I was either building a business. I built a couple of businesses. My first business I started at 18, first business I started as an adult at 18, is still around today. In fact, it allows me to be able to step up and serve like this, and to take quit my corporate role I've been in for the last 8 years as a corporate executive for an international company, and still be able to just put food on the table and step up and serve our country. But anyway, when I wasn't building my business, I was out campaigning. Was able to get involved between my brother and I, and help run campaigns to get the first Republican African-American elected since Reconstruction, the first Cuban elected, both very good friends of mine and supporters of me in this today. I'm blessed to have their support. Got involved in the U.S. Senate races. In 2002, we had, the whole state up until that election was all blue, and got involved in that in 2002, and then 2000 also, and 2004, should say, 2005, Johnny Isakson was sworn in, and now we had two U.S. senators that were Republican conservatives. By the way, some of you may have heard Johnny Isakson passed this morning, and so it's with sadness I share that. I know he's in a better place. I'm thankful for his years of service. So may he rest in peace. So anyway, fast forwarding, I got married actually right out of high school as well. So got my wife involved in that as well. She wasn't one that was interested in getting involved in politics. Thankfully, I didn't have any plans to ever serve in public office, only felt I should help get others elected. So she got involved with me on that and helped out. And then at 30 years old, by the way, we have 6 children. We have ages 6 to 18. And Chelsea will share with you a little bit about how that really impacts our decision. When I say our decision, by the way, when you run for U.S. Senate or any office, in fact, any office, I believe it's very important that a couple is on board. And I always knew that if God called me to anything like this that would impact the whole family, it would have to be a family calling. So anyway, I'm so thankful for her support and feeling, both knowing that we've been called to do this. At 30 years old, I ran for public office. So you'll hear it said about this race that I'm the only person in this race for U.S. Senate who has actually served and has a voting record. And I'm proud to say a conservative voting record. So at 30 years old, I was received a phone call, and a friend of mine, in fact, that Cuban friend I mentioned, who encouraged me, Josh, we need another guy like you down here. Will you consider running? And I said, well, give me a month. Let me pray about it. Halfway through, I said, no, I just had my best month in business. We're moving to Central America, to Bolivia, to help a friend with building orphanages. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'll support other people. And anyway, that's another story we're not here for today, but it's amazing how God just spoke to us after we said no and showed us, no, you are supposed to be doing this. And so it's a crazy story, but anyhow, we jumped all in. And we won. In fact, we won by God's grace by a landslide. People said that we didn't have a chance. We were running against who the AJC, our big state newspaper, said would be the next governor. And we won 4 people in that race. Again, thanks to an amazing team, family who all got involved. Again, oldest of 10. My wife's the second oldest, I didn't tell you this, of 12. So we had a great family, but we had a huge team even outside of that. And we won, again, 70-30. We also outraised all of our opponents combined. So, certainly built our faith that when you're called to do something, step up. When you're called and you're running for the right reasons, step up and have faith. And so it's a privilege to get to serve. I served 2 terms and then I left unopposed. I've never believed that public service should be a lifetime career. I believe it should be a season. It should be a calling. You step up and serve, and then you go back to private life. And that's what I did. I'm proud of what I got to do during my 2 terms, from passing balanced budgets to cutting taxes for Georgia families, reducing state debt. And we passed the fetal pain bill in 2012. I was proud to be a part of that. I'll never forget the first conversation I had with my mother at about 5 or 6 years old. I asked my mother, I said, "Are we Republican or are we Democrat?" And my mother said something that I think, I don't think I know, will be with me till I die. I thought there was a lot of wisdom in it. She said, "Son, parties change, but principles remain. We will always vote for the party that supports life." And then she went on to talk about other issues like standing with Israel and limited government and constitutional government, and this constitution that was written that has been the foundation, the bedrock that our country has been built upon, and took this 5,000-year leap, right, to become the beacon for freedom and religious liberties around the world. And so as I began to understand that more and more, as I read the scriptures, as I learned history, I realized that I was pro-life and I was for limited government. And, I began to understand where our liberties come from. By the way, they don't come from government, they come from God. And thankfully, our Constitution was written to acknowledge that and to safeguard those liberties. And so anyway, I served, I left, and then more recently, I've been serving in a corporate role for the last 8 years, with an international company, and I've been passionate about what I've been doing. And in fact, I took that role not even knowing what I was going to get paid, but I believed in what I was doing. I was working with a company that actually turned my mother's health around 29 years ago. And you can probably tell, I don't do anything unless I'm passionate about it, unless I feel called to it. And so, but this past year, I've really grown concerned about what's happening to our country as I've been watching our liberties being eroded, watching the lack of civility among Americans turning on one another. And I thought a lot about Abraham Lincoln's first speech at 26 years old, when he talked about our greatest, or that our country would not fall from external military forces from without, but if it fell, it would be from internal conflict, from turning on one another. And watching the lack of civility has really concerned me. And really kind of the process to get my attention to walk away from everything and quit my job last month and go all in the greatest probably challenge that I've undertaken to date. That began a week actually before the general election. And I'm not going to go into the whole story because I want to make sure that I'm very conscious about our time. That's why you'll see me checking my clock, watch every now and then, because I know that this is a Sunday afternoon, precious time with the family. And some of you are headed to church here in a little bit. But suffice to say that a week before the general election, before the whole world, the whole country woke up to what happened in Georgia, I had a sleepless night, was literally just on my knees in my closet, just praying for our country and just concerned about things that are happening. And my wife woke up. I said, "Honey, I believe that God is flipped the switch, preparing my heart, telling me I'm not done with public office. I just don't know when that's going to be, but I believe it's U.S. Senate." And I said, "I hope it's many years down the road, because this wasn't part of our plans. It wasn't part of my ambitions. In fact, I had the next 5 years planned out, at least the next 5, but we had very clear plans on the next 5. And as you all know, the next week, we lost our president. We lost 2 U.S. senators that, again, both I had worked hard for and rolled up my sleeves to help get elected. And I'll never forget, a friend of mine asked, who I had shared just the day after about what had happened that night. He said, "Are you going to run in 2 years or 6 years?" And that would be when the next U.S. Senate seat opened up. And I said, and this was about me at this point, I said, "I'm not running now. I got too much going on. No way I'm not running now in 6 years." And anyway, the Lord just really began to change my heart over the next, really, now that I look back, realize He was working on me all this time. But in September, my wife and I were on a date night. And that's when I realized the Lord just really challenged me and speak to me that I had not really even considered, was I supposed to do it this year? And so anyway, we prayed about it, and we asked our pastor and some other friends to pray. And anyway, over a series of events that took place that I don't have time to share, that are absolutely still blow me away, through speaking to us directly and other people confirming it out of the blue, literally just like walking up to me like I've never experienced and challenging me to run for office. I say never experienced, I guess, besides the other story of what happened when I was 30 and ran for office. Absolutely incredible. And so anyway, we realized in fasting and praying, realized that we were supposed to jump all in. And we had a family meeting, and my family all said, "We're with you," even though we talked about the sacrifices would mean. And we talked about, as we had that discussion, about our founding fathers. They signed that Declaration of Independence. They pledged everything, their life, their sacred honor, put it all on the line. And I believe with 4 brothers who have served on my side of the family and 4 brothers on her side of the family, we can't give too much for what we've been given. I think about Kennedy, who said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country?" And so we had that family meeting. And, are we willing to pledge everything, our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor? And the kids all agreed, yes, we're all in on this. So we're going to be moving into the bus, crisscrossing the state as a family. And we're going to, because I believe this is the most important election of our, certainly the most important race of this year, campaign this year. And I believe it's also the most important election of our lifetime. So I want to talk to you about what a couple of the issues are that are important to me, and then I want you to hear from Chelsea for a moment. But some of the issues that I could go on and on about the issues that I'm concerned about, because there's a lot, unfortunately, right now. But some of the top issues that we're really concerned about, one is freedom. We're watching our freedom being eroded with these mandates, regardless of how someone feels about vaccines. Absolutely, it is outside of the federal government's limited scope to be mandating vaccines as Biden has done. He has shown no regard for the Constitution and the limited powers on the federal government. The clear and enumerated powers, and if they're and the rest are reserved to the states. I'm a big 10th Amendment guy as well. We need to get the federal government, we need to keep it within its clearly defined lane. And so freedom, that's huge. We could talk a lot about that. And the next thing is our debt. We need to pass a balanced budget. As a state legislator, I'm proud to be a part of passing a resolution that Georgia passed calling for an amendment to the Constitution for a balanced budget amendment. Also for term limits. By the way, I signed one of the first pledges I signed when I jumped in the race is a term limit pledge. I look forward to serving our state and by God's grace, serving honorably. And then I look forward to going back home and saying, I did my tour of duty, and now it's somebody else's turn. So, again, first being freedom, second being our debt at 29 trillion and climbing. They just raised the debt ceiling to 31.5 trillion. Y'all, this is absolutely, I call this stealing from our children. I have 6 children, I told you, 6 to 18. My 18-year-old son said, "I'm all in, Dad. This is my country now. This debt's going to affect me and my children." And when I ran back at 30 years old, there was $13 trillion of debt. And now we're at 29, and the ceiling raised to 31. This has got to stop before this republic is over. On average, the Constitution lasts 17 years, and here we are at almost 250 years. We are so blessed, but I have faith because I see every generation, studying history, every generation has faced challenges. And as Americans, we have overcome. We've come together, and that's why it's our slogan, is overcome together. We got to bring people together. There's more that unites us than divides us as Americans. We need to step up and address these issues. So again, freedom, budget, borders. You can't have a country without secure borders. I love it when people have a heart and compassion for others and they want to invite people into their home, like my parents did. We had people live in our home all growing up. I slept on the floor for years. And so I identify as a compassionate conservative, but we should never confuse compassion with opening up the border to allow, that's not our right to give away our borders, to open up our borders. We have nearly 2 million people. By the end of this year, we'll be at about 2 million people that have crossed over the borders during the Biden administration. We have now the #1 cause of death for 18 to 45-year-olds. You know what it is? It's opiates. It's drug overdose. Young people it's not COVID. All you're hearing about COVID, that's not what's killing them. It's drugs. And if we care so much, we care so much about COVID, as the Biden administration tells us and Pelosi tells us they care about, then why don't we care about the youth and the #1 thing they're dying from? Did you know that the biggest cause of opiates flowing across the border, do you know where majority of it's coming from? China. Open borders are a major issue for so many reasons. And so anyway, we've got to do something about that, but we need to talk with compassion as we talk about the subject. Again, I served for a decade on the board of a Spanish Bible college, and I love people of all nations, but this is American. We cannot be a beacon, and we cannot be a light, and we cannot help other people if we don't take care of our own. That is our obligation as public servants. So we need to close the border. So I believe that all these things, education is another huge one with 6 children. We use, I was homeschooled, so was my wife. Our children we've used homeschool, public school. Our oldest is in public school. The rest of our children have been in a combination of Christian school, homeschool hybrid. Now they're going to be homeschooled as we tour on the road. So anyway, these are some of the issues. And now I want you to hear from my wife. By the way, it is her birthday today. I said that earlier. So would you all just maybe in the chat box, you can just say happy birthday to her. So blessed to have my wife. Honey, will you join me? So she's going to share with you all.
Am I in?
Yep, you're in.
Oh. Hi, guys. Well, thank you for being a part of this meet and greet today. I am so excited that I get to talk with you guys about my amazing husband. But first of all, I wanted to share with you why I'm excited about this opportunity to partner with him and go along this journey in taking back the U.S. Senate seat. So you heard that we have 6 children. And I think probably many of you on this call or listening have loved ones in your life. And seeing what our country has gone through, especially the past couple years. And I know it's pulled at our heartstrings, right? We all feel this burden, and it's what can we do? And I'm so excited that we get to jump into this as a family and fight the good fight together. And that we get to love on Georgia as we crisscross the state, get to meet all of you amazing people, and just those who, I know are wanting to see us win back this Senate seat.
Save America.
And save America with us. We need all of your help to do that. And for us to come together, to overcome together. So one thing I'm excited about is I have known Josh, as he mentioned, he met me when I was 5. So I was 2.
You were 2. I was 5.
You were, yeah. I was 2, and through the years of knowing him, I've kind of gotten a first row seat. And I fell in love with him at a very young age because he had a heart for others. And I saw that day in and day out. I think we saw each other maybe about once a week growing up. And he just always was looking out for the underdog, always looking out for how he could serve. And I fell in love with that part of him. He was a cute little boy too. So I probably followed him around, annoyed him.
I used to have my hair back then.
Now it's gone to all of our kids, right? So I'm just excited because I've gotten to see him firsthand serve our state of Georgia. And I know, wives, you can probably relate that, we're scared things will change our men or, experience how will it change him. Nothing ever changed the way he was his faith, the way he loved our country, our state, and served and stayed connected to the community and to and you know, I know as the next U.S. Senator, that's exactly what he's going to do.
God's grace.
Yep, by the grace of God. But that I know, because I've watched him firsthand serve our state of Georgia, and I cannot wait for him to be our next U.S. Senator and take that and that backbone that he has up to Washington and change it and fight for our this generation and the next generation to come. So that is it. Love you. I'm just so excited to be part of this journey with you. Mwah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up in a moment, but you can see how lucky I am, why I say she is my better 3/4. So as we wrap this up, I want to share with you just a quick joke, and I think that it really helps to put into perspective. There's a purpose to this joke. What you guys are all tasked with as citizens, as people, regardless of where you live in this country, because this is a national race. As I said, we need to flip one Senate seat and we take back the Senate. And I think we probably all agree that one party, the Democrats, should not be controlling everything. Look at the mess it's got us in today. Look at inflation, look at the erosion of our freedoms and so on. So here's a quick joke with a lot of purpose behind it. So a senator was on his way to an event, got hit by a Mack truck. He appears before the pearly gates and Peter's there. And Peter says, all right, do you want to go to heaven or hell? And he says, well, gosh, I always hoped I'd make it to heaven. I'll choose heaven. He said, well, here's how it works. We have a policy here. You got to spend a day in hell and a day in heaven, and then you make your decision. He said, well, if that's the way it has to be. So he goes down, 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 the doors open, and to his surprise, it's a beautiful golf course. His friends are out. He recognizes a lot of people. They're all teeing up and having a good time. That night, they're eating steak and caviar and drinking champagne. And next thing you know, the time's up. The devil comes to him and says, okay, it's time to go to heaven. He says, well, I can't imagine this being any better. So he's out on the clouds, worshiping the Lord with the saints and just having a wonderful time. And his time is up. The angel says, okay, you got to make your decision now. Which is it? Hell or heaven? He said, well, gosh, I never thought I would say this, but seeing as that most of my friends are in hell, I think I'll choose hell. And they said, well, you understand your decision is final once you made it. He said, I understand. That's my final decision. So he goes down, the doors open, and to his horror, it's a desert land. There's fires everywhere. His friends are dressed in rags, and he looks for the devil. He finds the devil, and he's mad. He feels like he's been lied to, deceived, right? And he asks the devil, he said, I don't understand. What happened? The devil says, oh, that's easy to explain. Yesterday we were campaigning, and today you voted. Now you see why I share that with you. It's not such a funny, it's funny, but it's not, isn't it? Because too often we have these politicians who come out and they promise everything and they sound great. And then they get to DC and they get the Potomac fever, right? Or we find out that their message was crafted by a bunch of consultants and people, and it wasn't really, we never found out who they were. And so I'm thanking you first for being here today, taking time out. I'm also asking you, will you please take a look at this race? Take a look at who you may have heard of the celebrity that's in the race. And I think he's a fine guy, a nice guy. As far as I know, he's my childhood sports hero. But recently he said, and I think you should Google him as well, because there's a lot of other stuff. We're not getting into that, but do your homework. But the only thing I'll mention is last summer, and this is something that's always been important to me. Last summer, he said that the Constitution was written in a bygone era. And he said, this is going to freak y'all out in a 1-minute video. It's on my Facebook page. You can scroll down and find it. But he says, this will freak you out. But I think that because of changing demographics, the Constitution should be changed. What does changing demographics have to do with the Constitution, changing the Constitution? He went on to say we need a progressive candidate. See, that's exactly why we need a proven candidate with a conservative voting record where we know what we're getting. Because this is not time for on-the-job training. This is 6 years in the U.S. Senate. 6 years is a long time. You can do a lot of good or a lot of havoc. Unlike Congress, that's just 2 years. This is not where you send somebody who has not been tested, tried, and proven. And so I ask you, if that means something to you, if you are concerned about where we are, will you consider going all in? We're all in. As I told you, quit my job. We sold our boat. We're making a lot of sacrifices, but no sacrifice is too great for our country and where we are at the moment. So here's what I want to ask you to do in closing. I've always believed, in fact, my sister in my early 20s shared this quote with me, and it says, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful and committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. We recognize we cannot win this campaign, this race alone. As good as our intentions are, as passionate as we are, I cannot do this alone. We need you. So first step was being a part of this. Thank you. Second step is, will you invite others? Next Sunday, we're going to have this same event. And next time, I'm going to get it in under 30 minutes. I see we're 2 minutes here. We're going to get it in. But will you share this with them? And we've got a lot more resources and tools coming out and videos. So I'm going to ask you right now, will you go to our page, votejosh.com? Will you click on Get Involved at the top of the page? And then will you click on the first one, says, or should already say, if it's been updated already, if not, it will be, will you join us as a Minuteman or Minutewoman? And that means to use your minutes, just minutes can make all the difference in the world, like the Minutemen did in the Revolutionary War. So what do we need you to do? It's really simple. I need to ask you, number one, 3 things. Will you pray for us? Number 2, will you give $10 or more? You know, even $10 makes a difference. We need a lot of people to give even a little bit. And yes, I know some will give a lot. My brother served in Afghanistan, and he said, we're maxing out. He didn't have it to give, but he gave a lot. $8,700 is the max. A third of that goes to the primary. A third goes into a potential runoff, and a third in the general. And but he maxed out there. But you know what? Even most people can't do that. And if somebody is struggling to pay their rent this time, you know, then I certainly wouldn't want them to go try to make a big sacrifice. But if you can give $10, that'll make a huge difference. And then third, this is super important. Will you text 3 people and let them know that you're supporting Josh for U.S. Senate? And will you ask them to join us next week, or to watch one, or to join our Facebook? Take a look at it and find 3 people that will do the same. So all we need to do is get 3, we'll get 3, we'll get 3. And if we do that, if each person through their network can reach 81 people, just touching 3 who will pay it forward like that, we can absolutely win this thing in a landslide. And I've seen the power of compounding, everybody doing a little bit, and how it can make a huge difference. So thank you so much for being here. I want to read you the Patriots Pledge as we close this out. This has long inspired me. This was during World War I. This guy was found who was killed with this in his pocket. And he was a messenger carrying a message to the Allies. He said, America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, and I will endure, and I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. That's how we feel. The power of one. You can make a huge difference. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for taking your time out tonight. And God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. I look forward to working for you and serving you wherever you live, by the way, in the country. We need your help. This is a national race. My opponent is fundraising all across the country. So appreciate your help. You can make all the difference in the world. Have an awesome evening. And if you have any comments, you have questions, feel free to message us, contact us through the Facebook page. We want to certainly address those. So Facebook links are all there on our page, votejosh.com, and contact information there as well. Thank you so much. God bless. God bless America. Bye-bye.